Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast. Our guest today is Dr. Melanie Dean. Melanie is a psychologist, researcher, author, and educator dedicated to helping people understand that their emotions are more powerful than they think. Melanie is the author of The Hidden Power of Emotions, How to Activate Your Energy Field and Transform Your Life. Melanie, welcome to the Success Insight podcast.
Thank you, Howard. I'm happy to be here.
Fantastic. Now, I have to say, I'm kind of geeking out a little bit today. I'm a former tech guy who made his career change, and I love this idea of emotions and energy fields and transformation because I feel in my own life, I've done a little bit of that. And so I'm really excited to kind of hear more about you and your work, and of course, hearing more about the hidden power of emotions. So again, welcome. If you could perhaps share with our audience a little bit about your background and your work, maybe the 40,000 foot view.
Well, Howard, it's so interesting that my PhD is in psychology, but my heart is in science. I became interested in this power that we have to get what we focus upon after I experienced it in my life. I had started and grew a publishing company creating materials for psychologists and psychiatrists. And it was a very successful company, but it was very busy. And I traveled a great deal and my children were young. And I really wanted to sell the company so I could have more time with my children. Every morning in my quiet time, and at the time I did not know how scientifically powerful that is, this quiet time every day. But in my morning, in my quiet time, I set a clear intention for wanting to sell my business. And I set really clear desire for how much money I wanted for the business. And so I did this every morning, and I also paid attention to the intuitive guidance that I felt about what business decisions were best to make. There's a myriad of decisions when you own your own company. And so I paid attention to that inner wise self. At the time, I also did not know that that was scientifically real. Everything unfolds, and all of a sudden, miraculously, my business is just selling, and I could never have predicted how that came about. Never could have guessed that in a million years. And it sells, and the exact amount of money that I had been focused upon is in my bank account. So
that's pretty amazing.
It's pretty amazing. That's what I thought. That's pretty amazing. And I thought, well, how did something scientifically real take place that what I focused upon, I got down to the exact amount of money I wanted? I mean, how is it? I kept asking myself, how is it that what I focused upon in my quiet time manifested itself into reality? So I wanted to know if something scientifically real took place. Could I do it again? Could others do it if I figured out what scientifically real took place? Could other people do it? And the answer is yes. So it took me 10 years to put together the scientific pieces of the puzzle. Now, I like science. I love quantum physics. I studied a wide variety of sciences, starting with what happens inside of our body in molecular biology and neurochemistry and neurophysiology, and then extended that out to what happens outside of our body with particle physics and molecular physics and quantum physics. And I put all of the pieces together to answer the question, did something scientifically real happen to bring me what I focused upon? And the answer is absolutely yes. And I am happy to share all of that information with you in the time that we have.
Fantastic. And, I'm reminded of a saying, and I heard this a couple of years ago, and it really was very insightful for me. And it was, what you think about, you bring about. And I remember taking that statement and on my phone, creating a little screen image that had a bunch of things that I wanted for myself in my life. And one of those was to, for example, be successful in my podcast, move out west, be healthy, spend more time with family. But that remained very powerful for me because if we think about things and we remind ourselves that these are what I would desire, these are the choices I would like, that those things happen. And when you shared this introduction, that came about. And I also have to share about your morning quiet time. Back in Chicago, where I used to live, I used to love the quiet of the morning with a cup of coffee. And here in Las Vegas, I wake up to the sunrise every morning with my cup of coffee. Now, I have to admit, I have to put my cell phone down, which now you've given me a challenge to do. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And so I just needed to share that, get that off my chest. But I'm curious, when you had this epiphany that you wanted to sell your very successful business, you began to do the research. How did you kind of begin that research? I mean, that's a lot of science into, what you are going to be presenting to us in just a few minutes on the hidden power of emotions. But how did you set out to do the research? How did you say, like, this is valid, or this, I get this, I understand this resonates for me? How did that start to accumulate so that you were able to create this program that you have to offer?
Well, I started with asking the basic questions of what is energy made of and how does it work? And so one question would lead to another question. Now, 10 years is a long time. I will say that's a lot of questions. And I read a lot of physics books and science books, and I rather like that. So that was all fine with me.
Sure.
But I started by running the gauntlet of what happens inside of our body when we have this emotion of desire. My intention, my desire to sell the business is a desire. That's an emotion. And then when you focus in your quiet time in the morning, you are focusing on something that you're desiring, something you want, your quiet, strong energy, and those are emotions. Well, so what is that emotion made out of? So I started with that question, and then I carried on to what happens with what that emotion energy is made out of, what happens to it. And then that carried me into understanding how our energy communicates in the field outside of our bodies. So our real emotions that are real energy matter communicate both inside of our bodies and communicate outside of our bodies to connect us with what it is that we want.
Do these emotions inside of our body and the energy outside, is this something that I see? Do I feel it? How do I recognize that there's something there? Perhaps I don't understand it just yet, but how do I recognize that there is something there?
Well, most of us do not think about this energy field that we all share because, for the most part, we can't see most of what's in it. The scientists have helped us to know that we only see 4% of the energy that is at work in the world. 96% of the energy that is at work in our shared energy field, we cannot see. And we only see 2% of it with our eyes. The other 2% we see with microscopes and telescopes and with the aid of devices to help us see very small bits, or large bits, I guess, for planets. So 96% of the energy that's at work in our world we can't see. Now, you can relate to that as you just think about the simple act of breathing. We share oxygen. We need oxygen, but we don't see it unless, of course, you go out on a cold day and you can see your oxygen mixing with some hydrogen and it starts to turn like little puffs of smoke. But for the most part, you don't think about that you are reliant upon this shared energy field providing to you oxygen. We also share argon gas together. We trade it back and forth, and we've traded it back and forth since the beginning of time. We don't see that, but we all share in it. We have 500 trillion neutrinos that pass through our body unseen every second of every day. And we don't know about this. We don't feel it. Those neutrinos do not interact with matter, and they don't interact with light. We can't feel it. We can't see it, but it is happening. So there's a whole world of energy out there that is happening that you don't see with your eyes.
I recall going to some conferences. The International Coach Federation Conference was one of those. And there's always these booths that are set up in usually the exposition hall. And I remember somebody in particular had this booth where they took a picture of you and they could see I don't know what they called it, the aura around you.
Yes.
Is that, and I just have to ask that because that's what kind of arose in me as you were going through your explanation. Is that real? Is that
yes?
It is real. Okay.
You can measure the electromagnetic energy that comes from your body, actually specifically from your heart. They can measure that up to 5 feet away from your body. And let me explain why from your heart, why I say that. Your whole body is full of electromagnetic energy
Sure.
that is generated from lots of different sources. And what you saw in that convention of this aura around you was a photo of the electromagnetic energy. Your heart is the largest generator. It's the largest organ in your body, and it generates the most molecules of emotion. And your molecules of emotion, they are electromagnetic molecules. So let me back up just a little bit. Your emotions, they are made out of real pieces of matter like carbon and hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. You've probably heard of some of these molecules like adrenaline. When you get afraid, your body pumps and makes adrenaline molecules. So your feelings cause your body to make molecules to match those feelings. Oxytocin is another common molecule that we've heard of. It's the molecule our body makes when we feel love, caring, compassion, happiness, safety, and well-being. Our body, specifically our heart, makes a huge amount of oxytocin. Now, those molecules, they communicate throughout the body, and they are loaded inside the molecules at the tiniest part inside the elements, inside the molecules, are subatomic energy of quantum power. And it is that subatomic energy of quantum power that communicates long distances outside your body.
Very good. So this is a good segue now into your book, The Hidden Power of Emotions, How to Activate Your Energy Field and Transform Your Life. And how does, again, this body of knowledge and your understanding and obviously an application, how do you begin to take this information and share it with your ideal client, so to speak, and how are they going to take the information in the book and begin to, number one, understand what's being presented, but also to take action and make some commitments and hold themselves accountable?
Well, the book is laid out with very easy to understand illustrations about how your power works. And I'll give an example of that in just a moment.
Okay.
Also, every chapter has lots of examples for how to apply this knowledge to your life and make it work for you. And it has a power zapper section in every chapter, which lists common ways in which people give away their power or zap their power. And then there's a power booster section in every chapter, which gives you even additional tips and strategies in addition to the stories and the examples of how to make this power active in your life. When I say that it has illustrations in it, I'll give an example of that. These molecules of emotion that we have, they each have a unique pattern and a unique energy wave pattern that is associated with that emotion molecule. So, for example, your emotion of purposeful, focused, calm desire, that molecule has a very smooth, evenly spaced wave pattern. And the reason why it's powerful, and I show an illustration of it in the book, that smooth, evenly spaced wave pattern is powerful because it can easily sync with other similar waves of energy. And when similar waves of energy sync, They share encoded information at a quantum physics level, and they bring you intuitive guidance when those energy waves are syncing. You feel a tug of guidance and knowing on when you've gotten connected with what is right for you. Now I'm going to back up. So energy waves of emotion that are not powerful, and you see pictures and illustrations of this in the book as well, are fear, anxiety, worry, resentment, anger. Those emotions have a wave pattern that is very sharp and jaggedy with an unpredictable, uneven wave pattern. It cannot as easily get in sync with other similar waves, so it is less powerful. So in the book, I give illustrations to show that the power of syncing waves that are smooth and even, they are 3 times more powerful than jagged, uneven waves. The smooth, even waves of purposeful, focused intention and desire, they have a 2.27 millivolts when they get measured in millivolts versus the jagged, uneven, angry energy is only 0.09 millivolts. When energy waves get in sync together, they boost each other up in vibration and in power, and they vibrate 10 times higher than jagged, uneven waves. So your smooth, calm, quiet, focused desire vibrates at 0.55 decibels per hertz. And the energy waves of jagged, anger, anxious, frustration, they are at 0.05 decibels per hertz. They are less powerful. So my book has cute illustrations that help you visualize that, which helps you apply it to your life. So that was a long answer. I'm sorry that was so long.
Oh, no, that's perfect. But it brings up a couple questions or curiosities for me. Can 2 people, perhaps they've never met, perhaps they have met, and can they feel the vibration, the connection, the smooth versus the jagged? Can 2 people
Absolutely. You asked such a good question. That's such a fun question, too. Yes, the answer is yes. They have done interesting studies. So if you can imagine that you've got 2 people and they're in separate rooms in the same building, and one person is in a soundproof booth in a room down the hallway. So the studies show that if one person person A in room A is told to focus and think of an emotion, a feeling that they want to send to the other person who's down the hall in a different room in a soundproof booth. When they measure what is happening inside the brain of the person who is sending this emotion, say they're sending a love emotion. This also works if you send a hate emotion. So it works both ways, love or hate or any other emotion. That the area of the brain that lights up in the person who is sending it is the same area of the brain that lights up in the person who is receiving it. And not only that, but they can measure what they call the coherence between the sender and the receiver. And coherence, another way of saying that, is the energy waves are syncing up. They are the smooth intention energy waves that are focused on long enough that they can get in sync with similar other energy waves. And they are in sync between the 2 people at distant rooms down the hallway, one of them in a soundproof booth.
Excellent. And so let me ask this then. Here's the other piece of the question curiosity I was having is, can I feel either the synchronicity or the lack of it in my body so that I know something is occurring for me to then take action on it? And let me just qualify this with a little more information or background. I have a very strong aversion to certain types of marketing activity. And somebody will come to me and say, I have this great opportunity for you, Howard. You got to get on the ground floor. You're going to make tons of money. And usually within 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and I realize exactly what type of opportunity this marketing opportunity is, I start to feel it in my stomach And so I've learned that when my stomach is churning, I call it the churn, I need to back away as quickly as possible because it doesn't serve me. So again, the question is, do I feel that synchronicity or lack of it when it's happening?
Absolutely. And such a fabulous example of that. You are very powerful, Howard, to recognize this intuitive guidance that's very real. You are using it. So the energy waves that are syncing up together, they are operating in this energy field that we all share. I think of this energy field that we share as a net, because in the quantum physics world, when one thing happens to a particle over here, and remember, inside of our emotions, there are different particles of powerful quantum energy. When something happens to, say, a particle where you are, then it automatically will make a shift and a change to all other connected particles that has been in touch with, and it seeks out other similar particles to communicate with. So that's a very quantum physics explanation. But in essence, when you make a change to, picture a soccer net, say, when you make a change to one part of the net, a ball goes in, it automatically tugs and pulls on all the other parts of the net. So this is your energy waves. When they get in sync together, there's a connection that is made. You will feel the tug and the pull of that connection. That connection is your intuition giving you real information that says, here is guidance for you. Here is an opportunity for you. And it's going to give you information. Is this opportunity good for you? You're going to have a boost of energy that says, yes, go for it. Now, I need to qualify that in a minute or two about how to use your intuitive guidance. Boy, you also are very clear what your intuitive guidance when it's a no. So your intuition, they are very real pieces of matter with energy waves that sync up, and they give you the guidance you need for which opportunities are in keeping with your desires. So you are very clear on what your no signal is from your intuitive guidance. That's fabulous. Do you know what your yes signal is from what your intuitive guidance, when your intuitive guidance is giving you a yes, is that as clear for you as your no?
You know, it's funny, but it's the opposite. It's like, just to use this as an example, Melanie, when I was living in Chicago, I had the opportunity to move for a project by moving to New Jersey. And I knew I was making a mistake as I made it. I had committed, I got rid of my apartment, everything was packed up. And I just remember I was feeling really lousy and my stomach was churning, using that example again. When I moved out here to Las Vegas, I mean, the opportunity came up out of the blue. I mean, I definitely was looking for an opportunity. So that gets back to just, again, the term I use, what you think about, you bring about. But when I made the decision to move to Las Vegas, there was calm. To me, it was just calm, and I could envision all the great things that are going to happen once I'm out here, and being out into nature, being out underneath the stars, exploring the parks, and so it was the lack of the churn in my stomach. That's how I knew I was making the right decision.
Well, you are a poster child for using your intuition. That is exactly on target. That is so on target.
By the way, for our listeners, I only just met Melanie. We're like 20 some minutes into this podcast. I've only just met her. Okay. And though I did my research, I know about her work, the book, et cetera, but this is the first time we've chatted about this. So this is the real deal, folks.
Well, it is so interesting that, remember when I talked about your smooth, evenly spaced waves of purposeful desire, they are calm. And when you're in your quiet time and you purposefully, quietly set forth your intention, that activates those smooth, even, calm waves of energy. And your intuition speaks to you in the same language when those waves of energy get in sync with one another, and they are connecting you with your desire, with what is right for you, an opportunity that is in keeping with what you want. You are going to have a calm knowing inside of yourself. You might also have eagerness and hopefulness, and you say, yeah, that's for me, because there is a calm, confident, assured knowing. So your intuition, if it is spiky and jaggedy and anxious and worried, that's not your intuition talking to you. Either that, it's your intuition saying that's not a match. So we all have our unique ways in which we hear our intuition, or we are in touch with our intuition. And you have described your ways, which I just love: a churning stomach when it's a no, and a calm, positive vision that's so calm when it's a yes.
That's amazing. So I have to ask, within the book, and I mean, the books in my mind, in some ways, if they're not textbooks, I mean, you have your PhD in psychology, so you know, and you've also been a publisher of social science books, so you know what it is to do research and studies, present the data. But a book like yours, I mean, the book is for the masses. It's for, people like me, moms and dads, people who are struggling. What was I put on earth here to do? And I don't yet understand how to process this information. And so that book is for the masses. So what do people do once they find this book? And we certainly hope people act on and want to learn more about it. But how do I then take this book and begin to put what I'm learning into practice?
Well, the book will walk you through that step by step, just very easily. The book is a very easy read. It's not technical. It starts out with a little bit of understanding about this. Each chapter has a little bit of an understanding about the science of how your power works, and it builds chapter by chapter. But the majority of the chapter then takes that little bit of science and says, how do I make this powerful in my life? How do I apply it to my life? So every chapter takes you through, what do you do with that information to be powerful in your own life? It's easy to understand, lots of stories and examples. It's got a little humor in it. It's got some illustrations in it. And by the time you get to the end of the book, you will say, I understand that. I'm all over this. I got this. And you will feel powerful to create everything in your life that you want. And you do have the power to create everything in your life that you want.
So the coach in me, and also the entrepreneur, and you're entrepreneurial as well, wants to bring this to a larger audience. And in my world, and perhaps in yours as well, I sometimes will mastermind with individuals who are looking to make a career change or to develop themselves, to advance in their career. How are you working with clients to help take this information and put it into practice?
Well, in addition to my work, I also offer a free community in which I share information to help people on their journey. So if you go to my website, melaniedean.com, you can join the Wavemaker community, where I send out information, podcast information, written information, examples, videos to help people on this journey. So there's lots of information. I'm eager to support people. People can even contact me through that community and tell me what it is they're interested in and need help with, and I will respond to that. So I'm very eager to help people apply this information to their life. So in addition to getting good, solid application, what do they do with this in their life? You can join my Wavemaker community, and I will continue to support you in that journey. But I did want to just share, if I may,
Sure.
3 steps that you can take every day to boost your power and to make this power work for you. And you don't have to read my book first in order to make this power work for you if you will follow these 3 steps.
Love it.
So may I give you the 3 steps?
I love it. Please do. Thank you.
Okay. So the first step is to have quiet time with yourself every day. That's such powerful time. Calm your mind and calm your body. So
let me ask a question, Melanie. Is there a time limit? Because I, as you probably are as well, aware of meditation and just to, calm yourself, calm your mind, your body. Is there a recommended duration? Because I know some people, meditation can be difficult because they've never done it before. So perhaps we have to build up to a reasonable amount of time. But what's reasonable from your perspective?
If you will allow yourself 3 minutes every morning to get started with this, it will be successful for you and you will feel your power. And then you'll say, maybe I'll give it 4 minutes. Maybe I'll give it 5 minutes, but start with 3. Just start with 3. And in the first minute or 2, just calm your breathing. Pay attention to your breathing and allow your body to relax with some quiet breaths. And ask your busy mind to just park itself on the other side of the door. And when you notice lots of busy thoughts that go through your mind, just see them fly past and land on the other side of the door. And don't worry, they will be there waiting for you. So you do not have to worry that they're going to go away, because they won't. They'll be there waiting for you. But you just ask them to take a break for just a couple of minutes. And then bring to mind, this is the second step, bring to mind something that you desire. And feel the eagerness of that. Play a movie in your mind. Envision that desire being real in your life. Envision it active in your life. If you want financial abundance and security, for example, envision yourself paying the bills and there's plenty of money in the bank to pay your bills. If you want healing in a relationship, envision that you are having harmony in a relationship with this person where there's been discord. So envision what you want, play a movie in your mind, and give that vision some hopefulness, some eagerness. See it alive in your life, and that will give it the quantum power of boost that it needs. So your first step is to give yourself just a minute or 2 of quiet. Then take just a half a minute or a minute and create this vision and settle in with this vision for a minute. And then pay attention to your inner nudges of intuitive guidance of what is yours to do. And you will pay attention to that throughout the day, perhaps. But tune in to your intuitive guidance. Your intuitive guidance will have something to say to you about that. So pay attention to it. That's your third step.
I love it. I have to share with you, and you and I chatted very briefly before we actually kicked off the podcast. And I have enjoyed being in the outdoors here, and and you probably know this when you start to do research on topics. Maybe it's a recipe. Maybe for me, it's been photography and outdoors and et cetera. All of a sudden, all the marketing information comes at you via Facebook and then Google searches, and that's the wonderful nature of technology. And one thing that I started to do was as I saw and did research on particular topics of being here in Las Vegas and pursuing the outdoors, is if I saw somebody who did something I thought was interested in, I started to reach out to them and inviting them on my podcast. And 5 years ago, I never would have done it. I would have just said, okay, that's cute, and gone on about my business. But I've learned, and I think it's important, what you just said, is be aware, pay attention to the inner guidance that's happening, whether it's meeting somebody, whether you're in line at Starbucks, assuming we're going to be in line at Starbucks again.
Yes.
But just to learn to take advantage of it. So it may go nowhere, but it's still an opportunity that's available to you. And so that I love. I mean, it's so very powerful. And it sounds like these 3 steps are very easy to do. I mean, it's nothing that's going to, anybody that says I don't have the time, well, as a coach, I don't believe that. We all have time. We just perhaps are not aware of it. But I love these 3 steps. We can simply do it every morning. And so I'm going to commit to you, Melanie, that I'm going to be doing this every day. I'm going to commit to you there.
I love that. And then I would love it if you would give me an update that says how it's working for you. I would love to hear that.
Fantastic. Melanie, this is such a wonderful topic. And it's, as a coach, I mean, the idea of neuroscience and biology, coaching and to make changes in our lives, help others make changes in their lives is so very powerful. And I think what you've put together and, talking about the power of emotions and recognizing the changes in these waves that are going on inside of us and around us. And I love this, again, this description of the positive waves and the negative fields. And it's just like, this totally resonates. So it just is like, wow, I got to get into this. So,
well, wonderful. Yay.
Yeah. So I truly appreciate, the time you spent with us today. And I'm sure, and I'm so confident our listeners are going to love this podcast and they're going to want to learn more about you and your work. And so once again, can you share with our listeners, what are the best places to get to know you and your work?
Well, please join me in my Wavemaker community, and I will send you all kinds of free support things to support you on your journey. You can access that through my website, melaniedean.com, which is MELANIEDEAN.com. And so I would just ask that you join me and let me support you on your journey, and I would be happy and eager to do that.
Fantastic. Well, we will most definitely provide, a link back to your website, melaniedean.com. And folks, do take advantage and sign up for the Wavemaker community. I mean, all you're going to need is just your name and email address. And, and so Melanie is certainly, giving of herself and her love and appreciation for this great body of work. And of course, we'll provide a link back to her book, The Hidden Power of Emotion, How to Activate Your Energy Field and Transform Your Life. And we'll provide that link on our show notes as well. Melanie, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Success Insight podcast. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And
I sure did.
Fantastic. And I look forward to joining your Wavemaker community and really I've got one last question. This is actually 2 questions. One,
Go for it.
Can I enjoy my cup of coffee while I'm sitting in quiet?
Well, you're sitting in what?
And enjoying that quiet time. Can I have my cup of coffee?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever allows you to calm and quiet your mind and body is perfect.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, you've got it covered here because waking up every morning, watching the sunrise with a cup of coffee, it's a wonderful feeling. Let me tell you.
It's a wonderful feeling. I love that.
And the last is a little bit of not a gotcha question, but perhaps kind of in the moment. Oftentimes in our show, we ask our guests to provide what we call an insight to go. And this kind of builds on the name of our podcast, Success Insight. And is there something you would like to share with our audience, some insight to go, whether it's, again, a book, an article, something you've read, a video, anything that comes to mind?
I just would like to reiterate that everybody has the power to navigate life. Oftentimes, we give away that power by feeling emotionally overwhelmed. And yet we have the power to calm and quiet ourselves and receive the answers that we need for how to connect with what it is we desire in our life. So I just really want the listeners to know that we all are absolutely built in with the power and the tools and everything we need to navigate life successfully and have everything that we want, even during challenging times. So I'm not saying that having everything you want precludes you from having challenges. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that you have everything you need to navigate your challenges and still get everything you want in life.
Melanie, I love that you shared that because sometimes during our podcast, I would bring up with my guest about the challenges of COVID in 2020 and still going on today, the weather issues in Texas and in the upper Midwest because of all the snow. But I think, I think you're totally correct. We have those challenges, but we still have the ability to navigate beyond them. So again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to join us on the Success Insight podcast. And we wish you much success for this wonderful book and your continuing body of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard.
All right, folks, we've just been chatting with Dr. Melanie Dean. Melanie is a psychologist, a researcher, author, and educator dedicated to helping people understand that their emotions are more powerful than they think. And Melanie has gifted us with wonderful insights about emotions and energy. And she's given us 3 wonderful activities, steps that we can take every day to make the changes we desire in our own lives. Spend that quality, quiet time in the morning to start off with 3 minutes. Vision something that you desire and pay attention to your inner guidance throughout the day. Do go out to Melanie's website, melaniedean.com, and join her Wavemaker community. It's a great opportunity to stay in touch and continue to dialogue with Melanie and about her work. And also go out to Amazon, pick up a copy of her book, The Hidden Power of Emotions, How to Activate Your Energy Field and Transform Your Life. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast and this wonderful pieces of knowledge and insights that have been shared with us today. Let us know what you think about today's podcast by leaving a comment on our Success Insight podcast page. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn at Success Insight Podcast. And of course, the major podcast platforms, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Pandora, as well as on YouTube. All right, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family, wear your masks, and continue to practice social distancing. And we will see you on the next episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.